Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. We have a super awesome guest this week, and her name is Mary Cravets. She is an international speaker and CEO and founder of Simply Get Clients. She specializes in helping entrepreneurs significantly grow their businesses without working nights and weekends. Using her methods, the majority of her clients quickly increase their income. Clients including the former CFO of Microsoft North America, thought leaders in the coaching industry, and rising stars in a variety of other professions. Mary is also an avid roller coaster enthusiast and kayaking volunteer for a wildlife protection program in Morro Bay, California. Welcome, Mary.
Thanks, Rita, for having me here.
Thanks for being here, Mary. Just a little backstory for people who don't know us. I met Mary last year at a NABO event right before everything shut down because I wanted to get out in the community and start networking a little bit more. So that is where our journey begins. And I say, Mary, you are fantastic at a lot of different things. When I see an email, I'm like, ooh, what's going on in Mary's world? So I wanted to talk about speaking and how can people utilize speaking as a client attraction method?
You know, I think one of the things that people make a mistake about with regards to speaking is they don't know why they're doing it. And actually, this applies to most marketing out there. Is like everybody says you should do this or everybody says you should do that. In the world of speaking, what's really important though is understanding like what is the goal? How are you? Like the most important question I think is how are you compensated? Okay, and in my world, which is the world of no fee speaking, where I go out and I speak for free all the time. It's really important that the strategy is in place so you understand that the way you're compensated for no fee speaking is by generating clients. So starting with understand your speaking, because the way you're compensated, if you're a keynote speaker, is different. If you are a trainer in corporations, people say speaker and they slap this label on this strategy and it just sounds like the same thing for everyone. So to be clear, what I'm talking about for client generation is always no fee speaking, where you show up to groups, you give value, and it puts you in front of potential clients, and your compensation is the opportunity to make some kind of offer or invitation and to receive new clients. And the critical thing in this is making sure that you are in front of groups, that your ideal client is in the audience. And then of course that your content is something that your ideal client is not only interested in, but it's naturally aligned with what your paid services are, so that you're easing them towards that doing business with you.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the route that I was looking to take was no fee speaking, but I was like, okay, I want to do this speaking thing, but I don't know the whole plan is exactly why I had gone to your talk was I know that I want to do this and I know it's going to be important, especially I deal with more like small business owners, community leaders, corporate execs. So my demographic is more leaning towards like people who are in the networking field. But I know a lot of people are like, oh, they're probably even mind blown right now. Like, oh, I can speak to a group because it doesn't have to be that sort of demographic. You can be speaking to stay-at-home moms or florists who like floral travel. There's so many groups.
Absolutely. It's just a matter of thinking it through. I was speaking with a speaker today, and she's got a great reputation. Everybody knows her. She's brilliant. She's got a tremendous educational background, formal education, and but she's got a case of everybody loves her but doesn't hire her. So it's very easy to get booked and to get people to say, yes, we'd love for you to come speak. But if the strategy isn't there, you're going to have a lot of, speaking famous, but cash poor. experiences. But you're right, there are a lot of different directions that travel professionals could go in. And actually something I want to mention is I said, you want to make sure your ideal client is in the audience. But the fact is, for travel professionals, there's actually another audience you can go after, and that is your referral partners, the folks who are already doing business with your ideal clients who you want to build credibility with. And of course, the approach and the strategy for that is a little bit different. But I mean, can you imagine if you had a list of 25 people who referred to you, and you would, when the opportunity arose, would refer to them, and they are in front of your ideal client on a consistent basis, and you just, what would that do for your business? It's huge. But again, it's about being very deliberate about your strategy.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I was like, that is kind of, even though like being a travel professional, I'm not doing so much work right now, but networking with a bunch of different people, there's a lot of people who now know what I do, who would have never known before had I not put myself out there to be in front of different types of audiences. So in a world where we're so focused on social media, you got to do this, why don't people think about speaking as an opportunity to attract clients?
Well, there's the whole everybody's doing it, fear of missing out factor that's very strong. And it's like comparing what you see on the surface for people and interpreting that as their success behind the scenes. So seeing everyone like doing all this social media, you can easily go, oh, wow, they must be doing well. Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay. But what I know is service-based professionals, majority of their work comes through referrals. And so but the problem is that referrals is often, people talk about it, what do they call it? Word of mouth, which feels very floaty, like word of mouth. I don't know. It just happens. Well, and the fact is that referrals is actually, you can put a system in place where you're nurturing a list of contacts, your results become very consistent, and you can generate those back to, the referral partners and connections from speaking. And I think the reason people don't think of it is maybe they have thought of it and they've tried it and they're like, well, I don't know. I just went and spoke and nobody hired me because there wasn't the proper follow-up or vetting of your audience beforehand, or your content structured in a certain way. So there's I tried it, it didn't work. There's nobody wants to book me. And that's often because you are like going to the wrong groups, or your topics that you're putting forward aren't appealing. So I worked with financial planners before. And talk about an industry that has it tough. They have so much regulation on what they can say. But they say, oh, well, I gave them my topics of, how to blah, 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 your 401k with percentages. And I'm like, yeah, nobody's going to go to that. Okay. But, you need a topic. You need to talk about the topic that people know they want, not the one that they need. So right now, topic that is really, in my mind, in the travel industry is really hot, is how to travel safely. It's like how to get out and be responsible. Because frankly, I was asked 20 years ago, what is the number one thing you want to do? Why do you want to be successful? And first thing out of my mouth, travel. Like no hesitation, no thinking, nothing. But right now, I just cannot see it as a responsible choice. But I would love to be convinced that it was.
Oh, I love that.
So that is a big thing. And that's for corporate events. That's for, retreats for businesses, you name it. People want to know how to do it safely.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point, because it sparked on me that I feel like our industry, the travel industry, is not doing a very good job communicating that it is safe, and there's certain areas that might be a little bit safer than others. And granted, there are no in-person events, but what kind of online events can you be speaking at? Or even this, like a Zoom call, or just go on your Instagram live or Facebook live, do something and promote that, because I feel the more of us in partnership that say that answer the big question you just had, for me, I was like, oh yeah, I'll convince you to come travel.
I love it.
So one of the big things that I know, and this is my fear also, is like the fear of public speaking. And I know one of my qualms is like doing filler words, but I'm trying to get better at that. So how can people kind of get over the fear of speaking?
So honestly, I'm not necessarily the best person to ask because I never shut up. I never saw a stage I didn't love. However, two things. Number one is Toastmasters is a tremendous organization. They have great training. It's a very affordable organization that can help with that. It gives you opportunities to present. It gives you training. And that's what we call platform skills. Okay. And then there are the actual, like the strategies of speaking. And that's a different set of skills. So that's the first thing, Toastmasters for sure. And the second thing is, and this is the bigger picture of generating business for your business. You know, I'm a client generation expert. So I always say lean into your strengths. So if speaking is one of those lifelong things that you've wanted to do, then figure it out, get out there and do it. And if it's not, and you've got that, I should do this, everybody, but you've got other skills and talents, you really love being on social media, or you really love going to networking events or referrals or whatever. If you love something else and speaking just makes you want to throw up, don't do it. Like seriously, do the things that you are more naturally gifted at, where you have less resistance, because resistance is just a complete energy drain. It's self-judgment. I should be doing this. I'm not doing this. Big loser. It's like, who needs that? There's a million ways to market yourself. Go find the one that is better for you.
That's another like bing. One of the things that helps me is I just say, you got to do it. You have to do it. Like there's no way to get over and like to make progress unless you do it. So you got to do it. So sometimes I feel like I'm forcing myself, but I am also forcing myself. I have to do it to like start building on my base.
Because it's important to you to work through that. And I just challenge people to really like think through, is it important? And if it is, then seek the skills and work through the fears and see a hypnotherapist or whatever you need to do. And one other thing about like overcoming the fear of speaking is I know that when I put myself in the position of teacher, instead of like this star who can't screw up. I mean, my talks that have been so well received are the ones where I screw up, or I get really, someone asks me a question and I get mad, not at them, but like at the industry I'm in. I get very upset sometimes when some of the stuff I see, and I start to cry on stage. I'm just so mad, I cry. And you don't have to be perfect. You have to be prepared. You have to be prepared. But you don't have to be perfect. Audiences, most people in the world, they want permission to fully be themselves. And guess what? Themselves is a mess most of the time. Brilliant, quirky, little weird, smart. And they want to see other people letting all of that out as well. It gives them permission to do the same.
Yeah. And I feel like that is one of the things that connects me with you, because I'm like, oh, she's kind of like me.
She's a little odd.
Yeah. I remember you had posted something like this in your group, and I was like, that's why we love you though. So I think like for people who are kind of nervous about putting themselves out there, that weirdness, because we all have it in our own form, is going to attract the weirdos to you, the right weirdos.
Yep. Yeah.
Why are you so passionate about speaking as opposed to kind of like other forms of attraction?
Oh, part of it is just, I love it so much. I enjoy it so
Mhm.
much. And I know like one of my top two values is impact. And so I have to know I'm making a difference. And to be able to engage in a marketing strategy, a client generation strategy that baked into it is making an impact to people. I mean, that's just, I don't even know. I don't even have the words. I'm a speaker. I don't have the words, but to me, that's just the best. It's so, I'm so in alignment
Mhm.
with myself. Um, and I think that's, I want to find those people who are that in alignment with it themselves, because they want to, a lot of people I work with, they get really frustrated because they are also difference makers, impact makers in the world, but they only feel like they're making an impact if they're sitting with a client or serving a client.
Okay.
And as they are growing and establishing their business, they aren't having a lot of opportunities to do that. So they aren't feeling like the expert. They aren't feeling that impact making that they crave. With speaking, it gives people that opportunity to shine, to make a difference as they are growing to be helping people, paying clients.
Mhm. That man, that really tugs at me. That I've been very emotional this past year for obvious reasons, but there's certain things I feel that are just aligning with me personally where I want to be heading in my direction. And that sense of there's something greater here than my niche was just cruise ship retreats. There's something greater at play here than just putting people on cruise ships to get together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that will also help in determining kind of like the best strategy moving forward.
Yeah.
Now, where can people find these these events to speak to, whether they're online or in person?
Yeah. So you, the thing to keep in mind is you want to be thinking about, where does my ideal client gather?
Hmm.
Where do my referral partners gather? So that's the starting point. Like, don't go on Google, don't ask your friends, don't do anything until you've determined that. Because I mean, I could get booked in 20 places next week speaking on time management or how I built my business. But if it's not in front of my ideal client, then I don't know, my time's really valuable. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got to make sure you've identified who is your ideal client. If it's retirees, go look up on Google, groups or associations for retirees.
Mm.
If it is florist associations, florist organizations,
Yeah.
I mean, you just go in and start looking. Um, starting with your ideal client, and then ask around. Ask people what organizations they go to. Think of your ideal client. Do they go to a senior center? Do they go to a gym? Do they go, where are they going? Are they a part of, there was an organization I was thinking, are they a part of HR groups? I don't know. You
Yeah.
find out where they are.
Hmm.
And then that's where you start inquiring. And then you make sure that you're presenting topics that align both with what they know they want and with the thing you're selling. Because otherwise, they'll love you but won't hire you.
Yeah. Yeah. I just put a post recently that your niche is the people you serve and how you deliver that, or what vacation model you deliver that in.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I think both of those have to be aligned. And I think people miss one side or they miss the other side. So getting those married, well, they'll be able to find those types of opportunities.
Yeah. And it's a process. I mean, but the thing is, like, I've been doing this for about 7 years now, and my team also does a lot of outreach. And so like year before last, I did 32 speaking engagements. They were all over the US. I traveled a lot. Last year, I did 5. One of them you were at in person. Yes, I think it was the last one. And And last year overall, I did 62 speaking engagements. We have 50 on the calendar already for this year. So I guess the message I'm trying to get across is, this is worth it. You get out there and you do it. And right now we have no geographic boundaries. So there's never, ever been a better opportunity to be out there in the world. And actually, I have a training that I'm happy to give people if they about booking speaking gigs. I did a challenge 3 years ago. It was 5 days. Each day I did a 10-minute video on here's how you define your ideal client. Here's how you search for groups online. Oh, and actually I'll give one more tip and then I'll tell them how to get it. But it's a great little series. The other thing you can do is if you see speakers who are like getting in front of audiences, like let's say you get an email from a group and there's this awesome speaker and you're like, oh my gosh, she speaks to the same target audience as me. You go look them up online and go find out everywhere they're speaking. Yeah. And then go reach out from there.
There's all these like simple hacks, and I think they kind of like go over people's heads just because they're so simple.
Well, and not only that, there's so much coming at us all the time, and add the stress, just the baseline stress we all are experiencing because of the pandemic. And to slow down and say, I am going to take 1 hour or 2 hours to do speaking inquiries, research and inquiries, like slowing down to do something deliberate. That can be very challenging. That's what it takes. And then consistency, because like this week, I think I got 3 inbound opportunities to speak, not ones that I reached out for. It's because I've done it for years, but they're coming into me now.
Nice. Yay.
Yeah. And it's only Wednesday. So yay.
That's awesome. One little question that I had that came up is I feel like people might think like speaking is in front of hundreds of people, but
yeah. Now, there are different ways to do this, and you can set whatever standards you want for the audiences you require. Personally, and because of the hiring I'm doing and the way I'm structuring my business, I'm taking like almost everything right now. So a lot, like I got in front of a group of 12 people the other day and generated 4 leads. Okay. And that's what we want to, that's what I'm looking for, is that 25%. That's really what I want. But small groups are okay. It is okay. They just really have to be dialed in, and you absolutely, positively, with no exceptions, if you have a no-fee speaking strategy, you have to be allowed to offer your business. And when I say that, I don't mean an extended sales pitch, because God, I mean, I would probably have a panic attack if I had to do a full-on sales pitch. But, very simply, if you would like to explore working together further, let's have a conversation. It's complimentary. Here is the link. Here's who it's for. Here's what we'll do. And that's it. If you can't do that, then, the people in your audience, they're busy, they're stressed just like you. And it is too much to ask, and your numbers are going to be way too low if you don't have a really simple, a logistically simple way for them to, the people who are most interested, to actually get on your calendar and talk to you. So if you can't do that, you just, and it's so embarrassing. I know this, and I even took a speaking gig last week and they didn't allow it. And I was just like, I was so mad at myself, and I delivered 100%, but I was like, afterwards, I'm like, so mad.
Oh man. Well, I highly advise everybody to get on Mary's list so that you can keep up to date on all the programs that she offers. Is there anything that you have coming up in this next month or so, Mary?
Yeah, a couple things are coming up. I've got a referral generation course that's really easy, a lot of fun. That's where you came in last year too. Yeah. But the thing I would encourage, if like the starting place that is really simple, fun, and instructive, is on my webpage. It's simplygetclients.com. There's a quiz. it's like the whole front page like just points to the button that says quiz. So you just go there. And what this does is it helps you understand in like, 3 minutes or something, like where your best next step is. For some people, it is speaking. Sometimes though, you need to get that bigger picture plan, or sometimes you just need implementation support. So it starts the process. So if you're hearing speaking, you're freaking out, you're like, oh, this isn't for me. Well, this quiz can help you like refocus. And then once you take that quiz, you'll get a nice report. It'll give some insights. Specific. The email report you get is very detailed. You get some insights as to like what motivates you and what to do. It's great stuff. And then you're on my list, and I'll keep you up to date with all the good stuff that's coming out.
Yes. Yeah. And it is scary accurate, that quiz. So
it works.
Recommend it.
It's so easy. And it's just like click, click, click. It looks like no big deal. Do you know, I probably took 4 months on formulating that, because I want it to be like, you're a diamond, or, it's like so fluffy. Now that I will say that like the first page you get, like it clicks over, it is pretty top level because it has to be. But then the report, it takes like your specific answers and it says, here are the things. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Mary, for being on.
It was my pleasure, Rita. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.